Okay, right at 9 o'clock, we will go ahead and get started. So again, if you have not yet run the sound check, you'll see that right here at the top of the screen. If you lose your sound at any point, if you lose your sound at any point during the session, you can run this sound check again. Just give me a green check mark once you've run that. That lets me know that you're ready to go. And if you don't have your learning coach in the room with you, if you would run and get them and just let them know they need to watch it with you, that would be fantastic. So we'll go ahead and get started. We have a lot to cover. Hopefully we'll be done just shy of an hour. So buckle up, let's go. Let's make sure you have a really good understanding of the entire system, okay? So let's get started. I'm going to ask you to hold your questions until the end. I usually close my chat because I get pretty distracted. I want to make sure I stay on task. And I'm going to be putting a couple of links in the chat for you. Those are ones that you can click on and come back to so that you are staying in the session. But if you click on it, that will open it up in another window so that you don't lose it as the chat goes on, okay? So let's go ahead and get started with a couple of introductions. First off, this is Dr. Stewart. She is our head of school, likened to a superintendent in a local school district. So I'm going to put a quick video, just a welcome video from her into the chat so that you'll have that. And then I want to move right on to our purpose statement. So our approach is student-centric. It's all about our students, and it's innovative. We feel like online school in itself is pretty innovative, but we're always staying on top of our processes and our systems to be sure that we're offering you the best possible education. And our people, our staff and our teachers are passionate and engaged. We are so glad to be here at OHVA, and we're so glad that we get to be involved in your education. And we hope that every correspondence you receive from us relays that to you. And then you guys, our students and our learning coaches, you're inspired, you're empowered, and you're educated. And again, we're just so glad to be a part of your educational journey. So thanks for joining us. This is Dr. Debbie Watring. She is the kindergarten, first, and second grade principal. She is fantastic. She may have sent you an email already, or it may be coming soon, but I have a welcome email from her. I'm going to send that through the session. So when that comes, you can just click save on that. There's some good information, just some good foundational things that you need to know. So when that comes through, just click save, and then you can come back to that one to read it as well. So we'll get right on to our Ames Web testing. You'll receive an email about this from your child's teacher. This will let you know that you need to reply to them to schedule that test. It's a one-on-one test that's done online between the teacher and the student. And so it's very important that we get that as soon as possible, because that's how we place your student in the curriculum that best suits their ability. So we gauge their ability level, and then we put them in the curriculum that is best suited for that. So it's very important that we get that as soon as possible. We don't want your student to be in curriculum that's too easy for them. We also don't want them to be in curriculum that's too hard for them. So making sure we get that email and respond to that as soon as possible, that'll allow you to schedule that right off the bat. So things that you'll need for online school in general, but especially for that test, are already built into the computer. That being the speakers, the webcam, and the microphone. You will have also received a headset. Some students don't like to wear that. I don't love to wear mine, so that's okay. Just know that all the sound and everything comes through the speakers, the microphone, and the webcam that are already built into the school computer. If you have any trouble with any of those, you're not sure how to work them, it's just foreign to you, then you can call this number here. I'm going to provide this toward the end as well, along with a couple of other numbers. So grab a piece of paper. If you can, write this down now, or I'll provide it again at the end, okay? All right, so let's do a quick quiz. I want to make sure we know where the green check mark red X is, because we'll use that several times during our session. So let's do a quick quiz. Have you set up a personal workspace yet for your student? Just under the black box where you'll see my face, you would see these icons, a smiley face, a person and a clock, a hand, and then the check mark. So if you would indicate yes, if you've set up a workspace, or no, if you haven't yet, go ahead and do that now. There we go. Okay. And that's okay if you haven't yet. What that means is we just ask that you do that within the first week or so that they have a place to go to do their work. It shouldn't be the bed, it shouldn't be the couch, but somewhere set that they have. So it can even be the kitchen table. I used to sprawl out there when I got home with my homework, much to the disdain of my parents, but it worked for me. So it could be a desk in their bedroom, a separate room with a desk in it, anywhere that they know that's where they go to do their learning. So again, not the bed, not the couch. If it looks like this, I'm super envious of you. It's so clean, it's so bright, it's so organized. It clearly doesn't have to look like this. Whatever works for your house and for your family is just fine. All right, so we're going to look at things from the student side and from the learning coach side. So that's why I want to make sure that your learning coach is in the room with you. And we're going to start right off with the student side. So the role of the student each day is to engage in learning. The student has to use the student account to complete all lessons and work in the school courses. So if you're logged in through the learning coach account, it means the student won't receive credit for the work that they've done. Sometimes it won't show that they've even logged in, things like that. So it's very important to make sure that you're logging in through the student account for the student to come in and complete their work. And then the student has to actively participate in all Class Connect sessions. So just like I've asked for green check marks and things like that, that's an active participation. It makes sure that we know your student is in class, that it's not just up and the students left the room or left the house. So they have to actively participate. If the computer recognizes that they haven't participated in a certain length of time, they'll actually bump them from the classroom. So the computer does that on its own. Now the teachers will see that they haven't interacted and they may move them into a wake-up room so that they can troubleshoot anything that might be going on and then move them back into the standard room when they've interacted, when the teacher knows that they're there. If they still can't get the student to interact, they'll then bump them from the classroom altogether. So it's just a very important step to make sure the student is actually in class. And then the student will submit assignments on or before the due date. We'll walk through what that looks like on the daily plan. And then the student should know how to find, how to send, and how to return emails. Okay, so that's one of the basics. Email is going to fall mostly on the learning coach, but I do want them just to know kind of the basics of that. So first day of school, let's see if we can check anything off here. So logging into the online school, I see everybody but one is logged in as the student. So that's perfect. If you see your name instead of the student's name, or an L beside the series of numbers next to your name, that means you're logged in as the learning coach, and that's totally fine for this session. But when your student comes to complete work, you'll have to make sure that you're in through the student account. If you're having any trouble with that, just stay after with me, and we'll make sure to troubleshoot that. And then attend orientation. If you stayed for today's entire session, then we can count this one off. So not too bad for Monday morning at 9 o'clock, right? And then for the system to recognize your student as an enrolled student here at OHVA, they have to complete at least one math and one ELA lesson. So that's very important to do at the very beginning. And then once the system does a sweep, usually on Thursday, and it shows that your student has been active, they've been completing their work, it'll send the release of records that you signed upon enrollment to the previous school, so that then they will stop bugging you about attending there because they will know that you're attending here at OHVA. And then the very last thing that we'll do in our session today is to complete the online learning course. So there are 4 lessons with that, and then there is one quiz. There's 5 questions on it. You need to get 100%, but it has 999 attempts. So no doubt you can retake that as many times as you need to in order to make sure that that's mastered completely. And then the learning coach must log accurate attendance. We'll go through that in the learning coach side of things, but I just want you to know that that is a daily request. Okay, so let's do another quick poll. Just want to make sure we're good here. So students should log on to the online school each day through the student account. True with a green check mark or false with a red X. There we go. Good job, guys. Yep, I didn't trip anybody up. You guys are masters. Thank you. Thanks for interacting with me on that one. Okay, so perfect. Let's go ahead on. I'm going to provide the website in chat. There are a couple of other websites through which you can reach the school, but just make sure this is the one that you're using. It has our school information on it. So clubs and things like that, schedules, calendars that I'll provide toward the end as well. So that website is in chat. When you log in, upper right-hand corner is the OLS login button. And then that'll bring you to this screen. So just making sure that you are entering the student username and the student password on this screen. And then you click login. And then that will bring you right here. So it should only say the student's name on this screen. So if you see the learning coach name on any screen, it just means that you're logged in through the learning coach account. You need to log out, log back in the student account, okay? So this is the student homepage. What you'll see here right next to my account is the student ID. That's very important to write down with your other list of things that you kind of keep beside the computer. That's just one that you'll need to log into some external programs. It's good to have handy. And then here you'll see the Class Connect sessions for the day. Down here you'll see the courses. You'll see probably 2 math courses at least. You'll see at least 5, probably 6 ELA or English Language Arts courses. We want you to know that ELA is the priority for each day for kindergarten through 2nd grade. Math comes right after that. But the science, the social studies, art, and music are actually secondary. So we don't want you to focus on those until the other work is completed. So once ELA and math are done, then you can get in with your student to explore some of the other courses, but not until then. All right, so let's click in. Let's go to the daily plan. So up here in this plan tab, this is where you're going to camp out every day with your student. So you're going to come into their home screen, you're going to click on plan and into daily plan. So let's take a look at what that looks like. Again, the student name will be up here. You'll see the view by daily or weekly. So if you want to plan ahead and look through the week, see what's coming up, you're able to do that. Daily plan just shows everything at once in one day. So the weekly plan looks the same. It's just a different format, but holds the same information. So that's real helpful. Class Connect sessions are right here. Hopefully that's how you came into today's session. And then just below that, you'll see the course right up front, and then the lesson just below that. So most often you're going to go directly to the lesson. So you can navigate through the course to kind of see what's up. We're actually going to do that together. But most times you're just going to come right into the lesson, go directly to that, and then go through that. It'll say over here the checkpoint. So if there's a checkpoint there, it'll say whether it's taken or not. And then this over at the side will show the progress. So if it's an open circle, it means it's not started or not completed. If it's a filled in green circle with a check mark inside, that means that it's completed or mastered. If it's a half circle, it's completed, but it's not mastered. So that would be one that you would need to dive into with your student so that that one needs to be redone until it is mastered, okay? And then up here, you're able to print the daily plan. So that's helpful if you know you're coming up and you're going to miss a day or something like that, to print out that daily plan so that you know what to complete on the day missed. And then the other lessons roll over from one day to the next if they're not completed. So it's real important that we know that it's rolling over. So if your student misses a day, they need to complete double the lessons on the following day, because everything from that day has rolled over to the next, okay? So just real important to keep that in mind. You can select a date here for the daily plan. You can toggle in between dates here. This will show the day's date, and this will show here the date that you're viewing. You can also type in a date here or click that calendar to change that, okay? And again, if you don't mind keeping all your questions toward the end, I will try and answer everything in our session, but hopefully if I don't do that, we'll be able to stay after and we can answer all of those. So thank you for that. All right, so let's dive in. I want to click directly into the course because I'd like to show you around in there a little bit. So let's click into the Language Arts Orange Handwriting. So that's what this looks like right here. It's got the title right up top. These arrows here just indicate the current unit. If we were not in the completed section, you would also see the orange arrows next to the current lesson. So that just helps guide you to every place you need to go. So this toolbar up here is very, very helpful. It's a nice visual that just really helps you make sure your student is on track. So what this looks like is 3% completed, corresponds to about 6 lessons here. The not mastered, that's 0, so it doesn't show up on that bar. This number here, this 174, corresponds to 96%. This number will go down, and the completed number will go up as we go through. So don't be alarmed that you have so many not completed lessons. Make sure that you're just completing them on schedule. And then skipped lessons, that's a red flag. If there's anything in there that's skipped that you think your student might have done on accident, just make sure to address that and make sure that you're in there. So what the teachers may have done from the beginning is went in and skipped lessons for you. So if you see that there are several skipped lessons on today or tomorrow, what they've done is they've just eliminated that from the plan for you, but it still leaves it open. So if your student in their previous school didn't quite get to the place that they are in our school, they can go back to those lessons to review some of the material that will then help them complete today's lessons. So I hope that makes sense for you. If you see a bunch of skipped items on today or tomorrow, that's why. So just know that. So we're going to go ahead into Printing Power 2. I just want to show you around in here. So in this lesson, about 10 minutes long, students will practice their handwriting using the supplied Handwriting Without Tears materials. Gather the materials listed, have the students complete as many workbook pages as they can in 10 minutes, picking up where they left off if they did a previous lesson. So if they worked for a solid 10 minutes, if they were focused on what they needed to be focused on and doing what they needed to do, then you can go ahead and move to the next screen using this arrow and mark the lesson as completed. I do need to mention this Handwriting Without Tears book is no longer called that. What I heard is that it's a yellow book that just says handwriting on it. So don't be alarmed if you can't find the Handwriting Without Tears. It's just called handwriting. And then there's additional lined writing paper here. If you'd like to print that out through the school printer, you are able to do that as well. So that's just kind of a lesson in a nutshell, okay? So then you would move on to the next one, you would complete that and be ready to go, all right? All right, so we're in the progress section now. This is just helpful to kind of see everything from one view in the student account. You'll also have the opportunity to see progress through the Learning Coach account. So it's a good to see, just making sure that your student is on progress. So the progress that we expect is about 2 to 3% per week in each subject. So we saw this bar here, and that corresponded 3% was about 6 lessons. So that makes sense with what we're asking here. It would be 1 math lesson, and then 1 lesson in each of the language arts strands. So vocabulary, writing, spelling and handwriting, and phonics. So they're going to have a minimum of 6 lessons per day. There's 5 language arts strands and 1 math strand. So that's going to add up to their progress of 2 to 3% per week. Then at the end of the year, or I'm sorry, at the end of the month, it's going to add up to about 10 to 12% progress. If you feel like your student's not maintaining progress, make sure to reach out to the student's teacher right away. They'll review the information, make sure they have the Ames web testing, things like that, and that your student is placed in the correct curriculum, okay? So just make sure we're on track with that. And again, ELA is the priority for each day, and then math. So any lessons that are completed need to be done in English language arts first, and then in math. And then if there's extra time in the day and your student is interested, they can come into science, social studies, art, and music. But there are no requirements through the Ohio Department of Education for the science, social studies, art, or music at this grade level, okay? So if you're feeling adventurous, you can go into the Learning Coach account and hide those courses. So if your student is drawn toward the art instead of the ELA, you can hide art until they get the habit of doing ELA and math first, and then you can go back and open those up if you choose. So I don't want you to feel like they're going to miss out on language or miss out on science, social studies, art, or music for their elementary career. That will be addressed in grades 3 through 5. All right, and then the inbox is here. So we've got messages or messages. So you can click either one of those places. That will bring you to the inbox. That will also allow you to create a message or contact the teachers right from here. The Learning Coach is copied on every email the student sends or receives, so it's very important to keep an organized inbox. You can do that with folders here, or in the Learning Coach's inbox, you can also do that there. We try not to send very many emails, but it is the main source of communication in the online school, so it's very important that you're keeping tabs on your emails, that you're checking them every day, you're reading them thoroughly, that you know what's contained within, okay? So that's the main way that we'll communicate with you. All right, so let's get green check marks. I saw some of you jump in a little bit late. What you may need to do is watch the recording just until it starts to look familiar. We'll go through how to see a recording in just a few minutes, but if you were here with us, could you indicate that all of the things I talked about during the student side of things made sense by giving me a green check mark? Okay, perfect. Very good. So we'll go ahead and move on. If you have any questions about that, I'll show you how to find the recording. Again, just watch that until it makes sense, until you've seen it before. But feel free to ask any questions toward the end too. All right, so from the Learning Coach side, the role of the Learning Coach is so important to the success of the student in the online school. We have boxed up a public school and we've sent it to your home. Only thing we couldn't fit in the box was the teacher. So it's very important that the Learning Coach is actively involved with the student, that they are monitoring the student, they're logging in every day to check progress, check what's on the daily plan. This is not a hands-off school. So we need Learning Coaches very involved. We need them in from the beginning, making sure that they know and that the student knows what's up. It will be very unlikely that your student will succeed if the Learning Coach is not involved. So we need the Learning Coaches really hands-on, really involved, and really aware of what's going on. They're going to check their emails like we mentioned before, making sure to return anything as needed. One of those most important emails would be the Ames web test. So scheduling that right off the bat is going to be very helpful for the success of your student. And as Learning Coach, you're going to oversee the completion of the daily plan. You need to instruct your students, maybe read the instructions to them, get the materials needed for them, find the books with them. But we are not doing work for our students. So making sure that you are just guiding your student and allowing them to do the work on their own. That's going to be very important. And then you're going to make sure that the student is participating in all Class Connect sessions. So just like we've asked for the green check marks, the red X's, things like that, that again is participation in Class Connect. And then every day we ask that you scan in and upload work samples that were completed offline for language arts and for math. We'll walk through how to do that in just a minute, but I just want you to know that's a daily request. And then every day the learning coach must record and save attendance. And that's where we're going to start in the learning coach side of things because there's just a lot there, okay? All right, so again, I'll put the website in chat. So that's right there. Top right-hand corner, again, the same method the student comes to log in. So it's very important that you're making sure that the learning coach username and password are used. So when the student comes to log in to do their work, you have to use the student username and password. When the learning coach comes to enter attendance, to check on progress, things like that, they must use the learning coach username and password, okay? And then they would click login, and that would bring you here. This is just a snapshot of the learning coach side of things. We're going to look at the full view in just a minute. But here's the attendance tab right here. So we're going to look at this first. Again, if your learning coach isn't in the room with you, you need to grab them or have them watch the recording for this because it's real important that they get this information. So we'll click on the attendance portion here, and that'll bring us to this screen. So it shows the student's name up here that you're entering attendance for currently. If you have multiple OHVA students, you can toggle in between right here. Total missing days for all students shows here with the date and the student's name. Missing days for this particular student shows right here with the date. I'm certain you guys will have 0 missing days of attendance, but I just want you to know what those look like and what they mean. Often it will pop up to the first day of missing attendance. So if you're going, wait a minute, why is it popping up to not today? That just may mean that you didn't enter attendance for a day. So it's trying to give you that clue. What it does is shows the date here. You can change date by using these arrows or selecting a date from the calendar here. We suggest that you keep a notebook beside the computer so that you can write down, or the student can write down when they start math class. So if they start math at 10 o'clock and they had a live class connect through 10:45, and then they did a math worksheet from 10:45 till 11 o'clock, and then they did a math lesson online through 11:30. You would come in and enter those 90 minutes in the system under math at the end of the day. So it allows you to have accurate attendance, which is the key word for attendance. It has to be accurate. It doesn't have to be what we think it should be. It has to be accurate as far as what your student is actually doing. So there's a part in our handbook that says if you're fudging the attendance, that's actually against the rules. So it has to be accurate attendance, okay? So using that notebook will really help to keep things on track, to make sure that you're only entering attendance for the days that your student worked and in the courses that your student worked. So if your student didn't complete work on a particular day, you could come up here and auto enter zeros for that day. It wouldn't tally in this total number of days in school. That would not count as a day of school. So that would need to be made up. And then if your student didn't work in science that day, it's okay. You just enter a 0 so that we know that, okay? And that you're not entering improper attendance. Remember, accurate is what we're after. So at the end of the day, you come in and you enter the accurate attendance, and then you click the Save button. Once you click Save, it will let you change it, so it needs to be accurate. And you're not able to put it in here as you go because it won't hold it. And you can only hit Save once and edit. You won't be able to edit once you click Save. So very important that you're entering attendance once at the end of the day when all the work is done. So I want to go through here. And I want to show you this typical time for lesson completion. I get a little prickly about it because I have a 15-year-old and a 13-year-old. They are not typical by far. Your student is not typical either. So when the system, when you click in this white box, it's going to populate the time that it thinks you should have worked, that your student should have been in school. And what we're saying is that we don't want that. We want what your student actually did. But look at this. If you enter total typical time for all of these courses, it would show up at 9 hours. Now, we know that's not realistic. We know that's not accurate, and that's not what we're asking for. So making sure that you are entering the accurate time that your students spent in school each day. For full-time students, it's 5.5 hours a day. For part-time students, it's about 3 hours a day. So when we come down here to this total number of days in school, that doesn't include any days that were zeroed out. So any days that have any attendance entered for them would tally in that number. Or you can use a calendar to say, okay, my student has been in school for 3 days now. And then you multiply that by either 5, 5.5, or by 3 for full-time or part-time. So if we multiply 18 times 5, that equals 90 hours. So we would expect that your student would be in school for at least 90 hours by this point. What we see here is that this student is well short of those 90 hours, right? They're at 64, just over 64. So they're almost 30 hours short of the expected time. What that's going to do is raise the red flags in the system. It's going to say, whoop, this student is not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Maybe they're not coming to school every day. Maybe their learning coach isn't entering attendance for them every day. Maybe they're not understanding that they need to slow down, take their time on their work. They're just rushing things. Maybe they aren't working in every course every day. They're not doing all of their language arts strands and all of their math. So a couple of things I just want to make you aware of. It is very important the learning coach enters attendance every day. So that includes the time spent online in a Class Connect session like this one. It includes any online lessons that they're doing, any online learning programs. So we have Schoolology, we have Raz Kids, things like that. Anytime they're doing in there also counts. Anytime they're doing an offline workbook page, they're doing flashcards, they're doing handwriting practice, they're reading a book, all of that counts toward time that you can enter, okay? So as long as it's accurate, as long as it's related to the course, that would be time that you can enter into the total, all right? So I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions about that, again, I'll take questions at the end and we'll be able to address that together. All right, so student and learning coach daily time expectations. Again, part-time kindergartners are going to spend at least 3 hours in school. Learning coach about that same amount of time. Our full-timers in grades kindergarten, first, and second grade are going to spend 5.5 hours in school. And learning coach is going to spend about that same amount of time. What you see is as the grades increase, so you get up to high school age, the learning coach commitment goes down because we know they're a little bit more independent. But in the younger grades, it's real important, again, that the learning coach is very hands-on, always involved, always there, always making sure that the student is doing what they need to be doing. And if you as the learning coach have to step out, somebody in the home with the student needs to be on them, making sure that they are doing their work as needed, okay? So grandma, dad, a caregiver, anybody like that. It does take time to develop the routine. You guys are going to pat yourselves on the back in a couple of weeks if you set up the routine from the very beginning. So live Class Connects are the priority. English and language arts are the priority, making sure that those are tackled right off. And then when your student comes to school after break, they're going to be like they've been doing this for years. So making sure that you're developing that routine from the very beginning will make it so much easier on you as you go throughout the year. So just keep that in mind. It does take extreme dedication. It takes commitment, time, and energy in order to be effective. So don't let the fact that you're schooling in your home prevent you from making it the priority for each day. So it shouldn't be, we're going to go to grandma's for half the day today, or we're going to go shopping, or we're going to babysit the neighbor's baby because we're home, we may as well. That's distracting from the student's work. So making sure that the student's work and schooling is the priority for each day. Okay, so that is very, very important. All right, so if we think about missing days, if you say, you know what, I think this is going to be super easy, we're going to go ahead and just take this in 2 days a week. We're going to get everything done, and then we're going to have the other 3 days off. It's going to be perfect. That means that your student is going to miss 120 days per year, or 24 weeks out of the school year. That's ginormous. That means nearly 8 years of their education will be missed if they keep that up over their 13-year career. That's 2/3 of their education that they would have missed out on because we didn't take it seriously. So making sure, that's extreme, that's huge. We cannot possibly expect that the student is going to know what we need them to know if they're missing that amount of time. And if you're here and you're saying, there is no way we are missing that much school, no problem. Let's think about it in terms of even just an hour a day. So if you think we can get this done in 4 hours instead of 5.5, you're missing a day per week. That means 8 weeks out of the school year is missed. Can you imagine expecting your student to know what they need to if they've missed that amount of time? That adds up to 2.5 years out of their whole education. So we just want to drive that home, that every minute counts, every hour counts, every day counts. We want your child to be successful. We know that you do too. That's why you brought them here. So it just needs to be the priority, making sure that you know attendance does matter and that routine matters. It's really, really going to come in handy when you've made that routine from the beginning. All right, so students must work 5 to 6 hours per school day. Our part-time kindergartners are at 3 hours a day. Your hours are based on your enrollment date here at OHVA. We know that your student was schooling prior to coming here, so part of your hours are made up at that school. The Ohio Department of Education says that students need 920 hours per school year. So that makes sense with about 9 months in school, that your student's going to spend about 120 hours per month. That breaks down to about 25 hours a week, which breaks down to that 5 hours a day. So making sure that your student is on that 5 hours a day is going to add up quickly, and it's going to get you to that total number that you need. Failure to meet attendance standards does result in truancy, just like it did in a local school district. If you had any attendance issues at your previous school, that follows you here. So it's not something that we can let go. We have to make sure your student is getting their education. It's so important. So students, again, are required to log at least 5.5 hours per school day. Those are our full-timers. The learning coach must log accurate attendance every single day. So we talked over how to enter that attendance. And again, if no learning took place on a particular day, you'd enter a 0 for that day or for that course. Make sure to make up any missed work. Watch all Class Connect recordings as soon as possible. Now, the state of Ohio, I think, is eliminating for all schools, but especially for e-schools, eliminating an excused absence. So because our school is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you have the opportunity to come in and make up any missed work. So making sure that you're doing that if you have to miss a day for an emergency or things like that. Students must log into the online school every day, attend live Class Connects, and work in each online course. So if you say, gosh, we don't have any live Class Connects that day, that's okay. It means you just come right in and start working on the lessons. And again, if the student's unable to log in for any reason, you must contact the teacher to let them know. It's very important that you do that. Weekly attendance sweeps are completed. It's easier to think back to last week than it is to last month. So we try to catch in a week's time what may have been missed, what red flags that we see. If there's any alerts, if there's any troubles, then we'll let you know by phone or by email. Failure to log in or log attendance for 5 days in a row results in a warning. After 10 days of no login or no attendance, you will be contacted by the truancy officer. Monthly attendance audits are also completed. That makes sure that all the pieces to the attendance puzzle are fitting together. So the progress that we see, the time that we see your student in school, the time that you've entered for them, and those work samples that need to be submitted, that all of those are working together, that they make sense together, and that they're in compliance with the state guidelines. So it's very important that we're in compliance. We have to show our work. We have to show what's going on so that we are sure we're representing our numbers appropriately. Okay, so that was a lot on attendance. Hopefully that was absorbed. Again, if you guys have questions, I'll take those at the end. So if you've got any questions there, let's work it out together. So we were in this attendance tab for quite a bit. This is the entire Learning Coach view, so it allows you to see that right there. So you'll see my students and my schedule. Again, attendance we covered. Announcements here are school-wide announcements. Those you need to check about once a week, just making sure that you are on track with that. And then re-register for fall. So this is talking about the 2020-21 school year, which it's hard to even fathom that that's coming up. But in February, we'll start talking about re-registration. I just want you to know where to find that button, okay? So if your student intends to come back for the 2020-21 school year, we just need you to let us know that in this indicator here. But again, you won't need to worry about that until February. So in here, it'll show schedule. You can toggle in between dates here or select a date here, just like in the student's daily plan. What I do want to point out here is that you'll see the student's name here, but you'll see the Learning Coach name here. Again, if you see the Learning Coach name anywhere on the screen, it means you're logged in through the Learning Coach account. You'll need to log out and log back in through the student account. And again, just like in the student side, you can view by the day or by the week. The Class Connects will show here. If you're viewing it by the week, they show toward the bottom. And then the courses show right here. Assignments show right here. It shows the due date and the progress. So this progress bar is the same with the same indicators as in the student side. I want to play around in a course for just a few minutes. So we're going to click into the Math Plus Blue appendix. We're going to be looking for the Use Direction Words assignment. So when we click in here, again, Learning Coach name up here, student's name here. So no work should be done if you ever see the Learning Coach name on the screen. And then the indicator here shows the current unit. Indicator here shows the current lesson. This is the one that showed up on the daily plan. It shows Use Direction Words. And then there's a lesson checkpoint here. And it shows that it's not taken. So that's just another indicator. Up here you see in the lesson list, unit or lesson 1.1 is showing as completed. This one's showing as not completed, okay? So that just gives you a good idea of what that looks like. Let's look into the materials tab here. So we see this is the lesson we're after, Use Direction Words. This is the workbook that your student will complete the work in. They need crayons, glue, and scissors. And then I'll walk into this in a little bit, but I want to show you that there's kind of a lesson plan right here for learning coaches. So that's available right there in that lesson guide. Advanced prep just shows you what you should have ready for the next lesson. And then objectives just let you know what the student should be able to complete by the end of that lesson. Now I want to show you the alert. So if your student comes in accidentally through the Learning Coach account to complete any work, it's going to show a red flag that says, whoa, hey, you shouldn't be doing that. So you just make sure again to log out as the Learning Coach, log back in as the student if you see this alert. So right here it says, whoa, hey, I don't know if alarm bells go off or sirens, but it just shows this little indicator. It says the lesson you're attempting to access belongs to the second grade school student. It's recommended that student work is completed from the student account. For this example, I'm going to change to student just so I can show you. If you're just coming in to view things, you can view as the student, continue as Learning Coach. Again, if the student's coming in to complete work, they have to do it through their student account. So this says Use Direction Words. That was the lesson that we were after from the daily plan, right? So on here, you see that it has one of 2 pages. So it shows you what it looks like. And it allows you to grab that from the workbook, okay? So that's an easy one. And then on the second page, you would have them color and then cut out each picture. So they can glue the trees to the left of the pond, the flowers to the right, the bench behind, and the duck in front. So those are the direction words that are involved in this lesson. So an easy, concise way of completing that lesson, okay? Name and date should go up here. If you're off-site, you don't have the workbook with you, you can print it through the school printer, and you can do it just the same. So once you're done with that lesson with your student, then you would be able to scan that in, all right? And I'll show you how to do that in just a few minutes. Okay, so we're going to go back in. So we're in the materials section. Again, this Learning Coach kind of lesson plan. We're going to take a look at that. There's 5 pages involved in this one. What it basically entails is the title. It says how many pieces, parts are involved in it, how much time approximately it should take, whether it's an online or an offline item, the materials needed, the lesson objectives, again, all right here in one document. So that's very, very helpful. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to upload work samples. So I'm going to put a help article in the chat. I'm going to show you how to do it here, but sometimes it helps to have that next to you when you're actually doing it. So work samples need to be submitted daily for any offline work completed in ELA, English Language Arts, and Math. It needs to be done through the student account. And then once you're doing that for a number of days, a number of weeks, the teacher will maybe accept other methods of submission. They may tell you you don't need to do it anymore, things like that. So just making sure that you're getting in that habit, again, that routine of doing that every day and making sure that that's being done. So when you come in through the student account, right here you'll see file sharing. When you click on that, it then brings you here. So a couple of ways to do this. You can either take a photo of it with your phone and use that. You can use the USB cord to put that into the computer. When you click upload, it's going to pull that from all the sources. So if your USB is plugged in to the computer, you should be able to do that no problem. You can also scan it in through the school printer. I actually had to have tech support help me with that one because I didn't have the icon that I needed on my desktop in order to do that. So you may need some help with that. Again, I'll provide the tech support number at the end as well. It may help you to create a folder, so one for ELA, one for Math, or you can do it by the day so that when you're uploading things, it just helps to keep it organized. All right, so Class Connects in the elementary school, they are required for reading, writing, and math. If it's labeled as required, it's also recorded. You may also find 7 Mindsets or Literacy Day assemblies on the schedule as well. Anything that's showing on the schedule should be attended live, okay? So that's why they're there. That's how we run in the online school, so real important. We understand that there are occasional conflicts. So there's a doctor's appointment that can't be changed, a family emergency, things like that. If your student must miss a required session, please do inform the teacher and watch the recording as soon as possible. So this is how you should have come into today's session. You're in the student account, in the daily plan, and you'll see the Class Connects right here. So if you miss a Class Connect, about 10-15 minutes after the ending time here, you'll be able to come in and access the recording. So you would just click on this. Instead of coming into the session like it did today, it will just pop up this window that says, uh-oh, it's not open right now, but here's a recording. When you click on this recording line right here, it opens up to come into session just like it did to today, but you'll view the recording instead of the live version, okay? So that's very helpful here as well. Well, let me do this. Okay, let's go ahead to the handbook. We're almost done here, and then I can take any questions that you have. So we have sent a handbook. We have a quite lengthy handbook, but you are required to be familiar with the information that's contained within. I've put the handbook in chat in case you're up for some light reading. It's about 83 pages, so I don't know how light that qualifies, but it is important that we're on the same page with a few of these items. So we want to talk through internet. Because you have signed up for online school, that means you have to have continuous home internet service. So you have to be able to come to school. And in order to do that in an online school, you have to have internet. You also need a backup plan. We know that home internet can be a little wonky sometimes. Construction or weather can knock it out. So you need to make sure to have a backup plan, whether that's the local library or a friend's house, things like that. You need to be able to come to school every day. If you need to go to McDonald's, grab a Coke and pirate their internet, that's cool too. I also want to let you know though that we reimburse for internet, so that's very handy. You need to save your bills, and actually it just opened on Friday for submission of December's bills, and then it will open again in May for January, February, March, April, and May's bills to be submitted, and then you get a nice check in the mail, so it's real helpful to have that. So bookmark that website. It gives you the instructions there. It's all very helpful. So that's one that I would click on right now. You can bring that up, bookmark that as soon as we're done. So as Learning Coach, I understand that the OHVA program includes K-12 curriculum, periodic assessments, Class Connects, and other instructional tools specific to my students' academic requirements. I also understand that students are required to attend and participate in live Class Connect sessions. It also says in our handbook that our school day is from 8 to 4, so Class Connects will be during that time. Students are expected to be on school during that time. We've had some learning coaches that say, oh, well, we can't come to school during those hours because I work and my students at daycare and they can't access school at daycare. This program may not work for you. If you're not able to have your student on, if they are with their grandparent, if they're with a caregiver, the grandparent or caregiver need to be familiar with the system enough to help the student be on school between the hours of 8 and 4, okay? After those hours, on weekends, things like that, those are in special circumstances. If you missed something, you need to make up some work, that's what those hours are for. But typically your student needs to be on from 8 to 4, okay? Or between those hours, not the entire time. As Learning Coach, I will actively supervise my student while participating in the OHVA program. Learning Coach guidance is essential for the student success. We talked about that and what a big deal that is, right? Learning coaches are so important to the student success. All right, we also need to talk about testing. Because we're a state of Ohio public school, we are still required to participate in all state achievement and diagnostic testing. It just looks a little bit different. There's extra effort that needs to go into testing online school students as opposed to testing in a local school district. My kids do it at their school. It seems like it's no problem. We have to put in a lot of extra work to make sure we're testing all of our students. So we have local testing sites. We try to make it as close to you as possible so you don't have to travel too far. But the transportation is the responsibility of the learning coach to and from that test, okay? We also do have some online testing. That one is the Ames Web test. We also have MAP testing for some of the older kids. It's MAP. There's a math and an ELA portion of that. But for the little guys, kindergarten through second grade, that Ames Web test is, again, critical to make sure that we're placing your student in the proper curriculum based on their ability levels. So very, very important that we're getting that as soon as possible. All right, so we're going to take a second. We're going to go through the online learning course. So again, we're in here. This is how you should have come into today's class. This is in the student side, in the daily plan. And then just underneath the Class Connect sessions where you clicked in to come here, you'll see your courses. Toward the bottom, you'll find this Online Learning K-8, and I'd like you to click on that when you find it. So what you'll need to do is actually minimize this window so you can stay in session and still hear my voice, but to come back here, you'll see this purple circle at the bottom of your screen. You'll click that, and then you'll give me a green check mark. So let's go ahead and take a second to do that. Again, student account, daily plan, under the courses, you'll find the online learning course. And then when you come back in session, give me a green check mark to let me know that you have found it, okay? We'll take just a couple minutes. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next screen. But again, if you're having any trouble with that, let us know. I'll provide my email address and things like that at the end. But stay after with me and we'll make sure we get you in there. So in this screen right here, once you've clicked on the Online Learning K-8 course, you'll find these 4 lessons and this quiz right here. Once they're completed, it shows the green circle with the white check mark inside. It shows it all done. Okay, so that helps a ton right here. So again, if you're having any trouble with that, let us know. Reach out to me or your advocate or stay after in the live session and we'll make sure to help you with that. Okay, so things to remember. This is the main office number right here. Always keep that number handy and then write down your teacher's extensions as they're reaching out to you. And then tech support number is right here. If you have to call tech support, they do have good hours, so sometimes even in the evening they're available. Always save your ticket number so that you have that available. If we need to support you on this end, we have to have that ticket number to do so. If you'd like to write down my email address, that's right here. I'll always loop in your advocate who has reached out to you already. If you want to reach directly to them, that's cool too. The school website, again, I'll put that in chat. That's one that has a lot of good information on it. And then I want to show you the calendar. So lots of good things. It's always kind of fun to know that there are kids in your area who are attending the same school and doing the same things. So we just passed the Be Kind event this past Friday. That was a lot of fun, a spelling bee. So there are a lot of other events that are coming up. So lots of good things. It also has other events that are on that calendar that I put in chat, and it breaks them down per area. So it allows you to see things that are in your area, so it doesn't take too long to get there. So I know in Northeast Ohio, in Oakwood Village, they have bowling every other week. So just fun things like that. It's really cool to get involved, to meet new people, to kind of learn things that maybe you didn't know before. So this also is the clubs link. I just put that in chat. We have Lego Club. We have all sorts of other clubs. So lots of good stuff there as well. So you guys have been great today. Again, if you missed any portion of the session, I would just ask that you go back and find the recording and then watch it until it looks familiar. If your learning coach was not here, please have them watch the recording as well. If you have no questions, you can go ahead back to the online learning course that does need to be completed this week. And then please do reach out to the student's teacher as soon as they email regarding that Ames web test. If you have no questions, you are welcome to go. If you have any, go ahead and type those in chat. Reach out to me or reach out to your advocate. But thank you for coming.